That's me. How are you doing? I haven't seen you in a while. What you been doing, Mama? Doing good. You still look the same. Still look the same. My goodness. You have not changed.
I'll tell you, that Miss Coral, if I could ever meet her, I'd give her a hug and a kiss.
You still look good.
I just turned 70 this year.
Wow. Oh, you're still good. You can get him. He's doing good. He'll be 84 in April, and he got remarried and all that good stuff. Yeah, I got well, I'm live. Hold on. Yeah. Going. Well, good. Hang it in there.
folks. So we're just waiting for commotion to calm down a little bit, and then you're going to be hearing everybody talk. So the commotion is pretty bad, but as far as everybody being here, that's why once they get ready, the noise level will die down. Promise. Sorry, I wish I could get it closer, but this is as close as I can get. You should hear the audio. This is a learning curve, so we'll have a better camera. But for now, this is what you get.
Careful of the cord. No, be careful of the cord.
Make sure if you're watching, please share.
U.S. history and economics. This is my 5th year. I love it. Except it's not for the fun. I mean, I'm exhausted. As you can see, all the time. I have to have all my grades in tomorrow night. I'm like, oh my God, I've got this. This is like bad time to have it for you. Yeah. In 2004. Oh, okay, yeah, you changed a lot though. You didn't have this, she used to work in Norfolk County, right? Yeah. Yeah. So you're retired now? Well, I had a baby. She's 12. She's 7 next time.
Hey, how you doing? Have you been drawn?
Yeah. It is. She's 12. She'll be 13, so that's, and I'm not a spring chicken. I'll be 54. And I've got an almost 14-year-old. This is insane. But that's keeping me young. So. She wants to, right now she's at Academy, but she wants to go to CHS and overnight. I didn't even know Taylor? Oh, no, she does Dairy Academy. Yes. Colette. Yeah, Colette Ranger. Yeah. I gotta keep an eye on my time. I got 5 minutes. You too, Jeff. Oh, okay. This is yours. Okay.
Glad. How's Scott doing? Good.
Just hang in there, folks. They should be starting momentarily. It is kind of noisy, but there's nothing I can do about that. Jody Wilkerson is not here tonight, just to let everybody know.
Good evening, my name is Gina Granger. I'm the president of the Women's Club of Zephyrhills. Welcome to our Fabulous Clubhouse. At this time, I will ask that you stand and join me in the pledge to the flag of the United States of America. I pledge allegiance to the
flag of the United States of America, and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. You may be seated. So again, I want to welcome you to this candidate forum. I'm not going to spend a lot of time talking about the Women's Club, but I did want to mention one thing. So of our 5 departments that we tend to focus on, all women's clubs and the General Federation of Women's Clubs focus on. And so this event tonight is part of that effort. So the Civic Engagement and Outreach Community Service Program reminds our members that we are part of a larger society and responsible for undertaking actions that will create a better quality of life and foster a sense of community, not only locally, but also regionally and nationally and globally. So this community service program of the Women's Club highlights and encourages citizenship, crime prevention, safety, disaster preparedness, helping the needy and the homeless, and our military personnel and veterans. And so I'm delighted that our new chairperson for this community service program, Ms. Sue Ross, who is trying to stay back there, had this idea for putting on this candidate forum. You know, the newspapers are going away. It's becoming a news desert, like sometimes in our area. A lot of times the only news that you get is on social media, and is it real or fake? We don't know, right? And so a lot of times I was telling them, this is a great idea. Let's hear from the horse's mouth, so to speak, right? What their plans are for this great little city that we live in. So I'm delighted that she took this on, and having some experience in this area, I'm like, I've got all the equipment. My husband here, thanks to him, we've got timers and microphones and all the good stuff, like the big leagues. So I wanted to just mention a couple of housekeeping items. If you need to use the restroom, there's a unisex handicap accessible restroom behind the store on the first floor. There's a women's restroom upstairs behind the stage if you need to use the facilities while you're here. Secondly, I just lost my thought. What was it? I don't know. All right. It's been a long day. So I'm going to ask Ms. Sue Ross, our Civic Engagement and Outreach Chair, to come up and introduce the candidates that we have for you to hear from tonight. Sue?
Thank you. Welcome everyone here. This is my very first time in chairing the Civic Engagement and Outreach Committee. This is a very important time, and I have been going to the City Council meetings, and it's just fascinating. So I am here to introduce our candidates. First, we have Sam Turgeon. Sam is next, we have our incumbent, Charlie Proctor. And also running is Manny Nunes. Our moderator this evening is going to be Gina Granger. She will be moderating, and that's all. Thank you for being here.
Okay, so before we started, I met with the candidates, and we had a little meeting about the process just to make sure we were all clear. And so there are some rules that we went over. I will be, what I failed to mention to you guys is that, well, you can see the timer, and actually the audience can see the timer as well. So the opening statements are going to be 3 minutes each. And then the questions and answers are going to be 2 minutes each. So I will cut you off. Okay? Yeah. And any members of the audience, if you wanted to ask a question, you have an opportunity. I'm not going to let you have the mic because I'll never get it back. I have seen some of you out here in the audience that I know very well. But if you have a question that would like to be filtered in if we have time,
I just turned it on.
please write it on the index card in the back and bring it up to me. Okay? So you will see the countdown starting, so just be cognizant of your time. And I will definitely give you a little bit of grace if you're mid-sentence to let you finish that sentence, but if you go on for 5 or 6 seconds longer, I'm cutting the mic. Just fair warning. Okay. Let's see here. Oh, the other thing that I wanted to mention that I thought that I forgot was that in the past we have hosted here political related type events where we had the supervisor of elections come and go over all of the amendments, like whenever we have a general election and there's just a ton of amendments on the ballot and it's full of legalese and it's hard for people, normal people, lay people to understand. We have him, the supervisor of elections, come and provide in plain English what a yes vote means, what a no vote means. This is the first time that we hosted a candidate forum, so I'm super excited about that. And let's go ahead and get into our opening statements from the candidates. And let me just preface all of this by saying Joey Wilkerson, who is the incumbent for seat 3, is not able to be here tonight, and I didn't realize that until yesterday. So unfortunately, she's not able to be here. She did send a representative, but her opponent felt that that was not fair to not have the incumbent herself here to answer questions. So Mr. Devin Alexander is in the audience, and if you have some questions or concerns about Ms. Wilkerson, you can, he has like some talking points and things for her on like notes on the cards back there. If you want to talk to him, he'll be glad to share that information with you, okay? All right. So we'll start with Mr. Turgeon with 3 minutes to give your opening statement.
I'll do my best to hit 3 minutes.
Sam Turgeon is
Good
talking.
evening, everyone. Thank you for coming down and making some time to come out and see what's going on within your city. As Gina mentioned, my name is Sam Turgeon, and my lovely wife Winnie and I have been here in Zephyrhills since 2014. We've started several businesses here. We've invested our time in some local organizations. For example, I spent 6 years on the board of directors here at the Chamber of Commerce, and I was very pleasantly surprised that in 2019, I was awarded the Economic Champion Award because we had converted the old derelict, vacant police station that was right behind us, this is the building right behind us, into a small business incubator. And right now we have 15 small businesses that now call Zephyrhills home under our roof. We also run Sunlight Realty, and as real estate brokers, we've seen some major changes happen in our city since COVID. And those changes are altering the fabric of our city. We've seen home prices skyrocket, we've seen rents skyrocket, we've seen huge apartment complexes that are being built now, and we have many more on the way. We've seen thousands of new homes that are coming online in and around our city limits. We've seen traffic congestion that just seems to keep getting worse and worse, and unfortunately right now, the only plan moving forward that I've seen is more development. Today, we find ourselves that we are choking from this development right now with inadequate roads and inadequate infrastructure. You know, it was laid out, meaning our infrastructure, our roads, they were laid out 100 years ago, never with the expectation of the kind of growth that we just experienced. Did you know that we have almost 2,300 new multi-family units that are coming within the city limits? Did you know that our current moratorium doesn't apply to those units? That means that that's going to bring about 4,500 new cars into our city. Apartments bring crime. It's going to put a lot of pressure on our police. We're already experiencing the symptoms of having too much density right now. Traffic, crime, overcrowded schools. These are things that, you know, these units haven't even been built yet. They have not come along yet. So what's coming is going to be a completely different Zephyrhills than what we're accustomed to now. How do we move forward? That's really the big question. Anybody can point out the problem. How do we fix it? First, stop doing more harm. extend the development moratorium. We have to do that because we need to get a true idea of an impact study of what all these things are actually going to mean for everything. Roads, water, police, EMS, schools, the whole 9 yards. That has not been done. That needs to be done.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you.
Well, good evening, everybody. Well, thank you for coming. Most of you know who I am. My name is Charles Parker. I'm the incumbent on seat 5. I was elected in 2011. A little bit about myself. I moved here in the 80s. Me and my dog. I got a job at cleaning cars at a car lot called Griswold Auto Sales. 2 years later, I purchased the property where I currently run my business, and we've been here for 33 years. I've been on the councils, like I said, since 2011. I enjoy what we're doing here. I believe the city has been working diligently ever since we found out certain issues with water and traffic, and we're just doing the best we can to try to get it all under control. That's why we did the moratorium. The moratorium does expire in June, and we'll entertain possibly extending, or maybe not. I'm not. Until that comes before me, we won't go there. But I also forgot a couple of things. I want to introduce my beautiful wife, Angie. We've been married for 27 years. We have a son, Michael, in the military, and we just had a new baby grandson born several days ago. And his name is Fender Kai Proctor. That was what the middle name means, I don't know, but my son collects guitars. And I've been privileged to serve on the council for 12 years. Every decision I've made, I've tried to give it my most thought. I've tried to look at all options, and I've tried to do the best job that I possibly could. Anyone who knows me, since I've been on the council, if you have a question, you can come to me. I work right on the street, and it happens all the time. If you've got an issue or a question, you come to me, and I'll do my best to help. There's probably people in the audience I have, but that's really all I have. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Proctor. Mr. Funes.
Hi, everyone. My name is Barry Funes. I want to thank Sue and Gina for putting this thing on. Some of you know I was born and raised in Hawaii, and I ended up in Florida as a result of serving in the Air Force. I come from a family of 7, it's 5 boys and 2 girls, and 4 were serving in the service. I lucked out and got homestead Air Force days, and did 3 years there. The last year, I went with the 52s to Albany Air Force Base, Nebraska. I got here in September and discovered I don't like snow, 2 feet of snow on the ground. And, being from Hawaii, spending a lot of time in Florida, it was really tough on me. I lucked out and got out an early out, came back to Miami, and became a police officer. Now, Miami and Zephyrhills is 2 different worlds. Big city. I wish I ended up in Vietnam with the number of things I saw. 2 years in a row, I went to 2 riots, and I would consider Zephyrhills a beautiful place to live. I ended up going with FDLE and spent 12 years working a number of different cases. I think my world with the law enforcement is a positive thing for the board. I can provide for the public, and it's true. I enjoy helping. One of the reasons I took this job, want to be elected to this, I want to continue doing what I'm doing. And with that title, I want to show.
Oh, my timekeeper cut you off, Mr. Funes. Okay, we're going to start with some questions here. Some of these are a mix of things that my AP US Government and Politics students put together. Some of them are questions from the audience. Some of them are just general questions, and so they're not in any particular order. And I will be rotating in between so that the same person is not answering first, and so forth. So, Mr. Proctor, I will start with you. What is the single greatest asset you bring to the position of City Council of Zephyrhills? You have 2 minutes. For all of the remaining questions, you'll have 2 minutes to respond.
Well, I think one of my assets is what I said earlier. If somebody if one of our citizens has an issue, they can come to me and I'll do my best to resolve it. Or if I can't resolve it, I'll have them either see the city manager or send it to the city council meeting and speak to the whole council as a whole. I bring, first of all, as an employer, I bring years of experience in hiring, generating jobs. I have, I've had to do a payroll. I've had to balance a budget, my own budget, of course. And I'm a firm believer that the city does a good job in living within its means. We have to, by law, balance the budget every year. And that's what I got.
Okay. Thank you. Same question, Mr. Funes. What is the single greatest asset you bring to the position of City Council of Zephyrhills?
First, what I'd like to describe is what we're doing right here is we're applying for a job. You, the voters, are going to be our, until we get elected. You're the employers, and we're the employee. Those who've had jobs, positions of administration or supervision, I had law enforcement. And one of the things we do is we receive resumes or applications relative to the job you're applying for. And one of the first things you look at the individual's education, okay, his experience, the things he's done in the past to support what you want somebody to take that job. Now, if you're trying to compare individuals, this is what I'd like you to do. See what an individual has done in the area of this community. What involvement he has with the veterans, with law enforcement. And when we're talking about law enforcement, I've had 23 years of law enforcement. Every area of investigation started with patrol. Again, what happens in Zephyrhills is maybe happening down the road. And like Sam, I want to give him the credit for that. His things are going to be more than you think right now. Traffic is number 1, drugs is number 2, we're talking to different people. One of the concerns I got, making reference to law enforcement, is the people that they're talking to. When you call the police and somebody stole my bike, you know, it's one of these, we'll do the report and they'll get back with you. Or the individuals say, I know across the street they're doing drugs. And I call and I say, well, can you tell what the car looks like, what the individuals look like? I'm talking about dispatch. We have to identify with the concerns of security folks.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Funes. Mr. Turgeon, what's the single greatest asset you bring to the position of City Council?
I think the best thing that I can offer the city council is I'm a very good problem solver. I've been doing it my entire career. The key to understanding a problem is you have to identify it first. You've got to know what the impact the problem is going to be. You've got to forecast and project what those problems are, what the actual impact of those problems are going to be. And then you have to find out realistic solutions that can actually be funded, that you can lobby for the resources to actually implement those solutions to the issues that we face. We've got some very interesting situations that we're facing. I believe that I achieve what it is that we're trying to resolve. I'm a very level-headed person. I know how to negotiate in the real estate industry as well as the development process. That is a very important set of skills that is going to be necessary because when our moratorium does expire, and it will expire, when that comes, there's going to be an awful lot of new projects that are going to want to come into our city. I'm the best equipped candidate to be able to deal with those things when that moratorium expires, and I will fight for this city to make sure that these developments that come in are within our capacity as a city to be able to manage. I love this city. I've been here for 10 years. There's never been another place in this world that I've lived that I've been able to call home like Zephyrhills. So I'm not going anywhere. And I want to see Zephyrhills be the best that it can be. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, next question. Mr. Funes, this is a question from the audience. What plans do you have to revitalize the downtown area?
Well, one can never do something by themselves. And I'd like to have input from everybody that reside in the city, to include the Women's Club, all the different organizations that exist. Get input from them to see whether or not what is necessary, what do they want. Simple things like Fifth Avenue. Why do we have palm trees all the way down to 20th Street? Simple things like the structures that exist on Gulf Boulevard. Some of them need to be painted, and nobody's looks like they're pushing it unless you file a complaint with code enforcement. I'd like to work with these people and see whether or not we can get these things done. The churches that exist out there, they've got concerns about what's taking place. The small businesses around Gulf Boulevard, they're concerned about how can city help. A number of them are uncomfortable about coming forth and saying, hey, why can't this be done? Why can't that be done? We need to talk to these people. Walk, talk, and see whether we can make these places a better place to live. The concern, number one concern, I guess, as far as beauty, is the south section. When you go south of Seattle, that's the county. And for years, we've been trying to work with the county to get that south area cleaned up. And for whatever reason, we've not been successful in doing that. And perhaps by collectively working together, we might be able to get that done. So when you enter the city, nowadays with all the traffic codes, it's not fun. But I know we can collectively get something done.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Turgeon, what plans do you have to revitalize the downtown area?
Well, I'm pleased to say that I've already participated in that. So the first thing is we obviously took care of the vacant ZTE, the old ZTE building that was vacant for many years. That is now a thriving small business center. We recently took over the management of the brewery and the entire complex there. And we are managing this where they have a lot of vacancy there. We are now full. Matter of fact, I've got one that is coming vacant. It's already been sold. So there is a lot of business that wants to be in the city of Zephyrhills. I think part of the biggest problem that we have is that I've had a guy that's leaving now. He's like, Sam, it's impossible for me to come here on a day-to-day basis from abroad. I said, why? Why is that? He says, because it takes me 35 minutes to get there. That's a challenge. If we want to make sure that we have a thriving business community, number one is keep government out of their business. I hate to say that, but it is a fact. Government is not all in the small business side of things. The second thing is that if you want business to succeed, then you need to at least lay the groundwork, the infrastructure, to make sure that your customers can get to you, and then you can get to your customers. An example, I had a local HVAC guy tell me, geez, on a radius that used to go all the way out to I-75, we can't go out that far anymore. I said, well, why is that? He said, because my trucks can't get out there within 45 minutes, so it doesn't make financial sense for us to service those clients anymore. That's a big problem. That needs to get resolved. The other thing that I've noticed is if I got 5 more just like the one behind me. We'd be able to fill those fairly quickly with different varieties. It doesn't have to all be office use. There's definitely a need in the industrial sector as well. I'd love to expand that, but the challenge is making that investment without the roads being in place so that you can get those people there.
Okay. Mr. Proctor, what plans do you have to vitalize the downtown area?
Well, we have been working on this for quite a while. First of all, I would continue to try to bring our Zephyrhills PD officers and other agencies up to par with what our other agencies around us are making financially. I would continue to support economic development for new businesses. I would continue to work to bring grants to the city. We've done $40 million in grants for state funds to our airport. We've worked on our parks. We have $1.6 million to begin the Zephyrhills Park upgrades. And I want to iterate that I don't want to change Zephyr Park. I just want to improve it and make it better again. I voted to support the moratorium and give the city time to look at the water and the traffic issues. The problem is, Zephyrhills has seen explosive growth over the past 3 years. We're looking at traffic, transportation, and what have we and the council done to prepare for it? That question all municipalities in Florida are facing right now. How do we responsibly prepare and handle growth? First, our city planning department requires developments to perform traffic studies on significant projects. In these studies, it shows road improvements are required. The developer pays for these improvements. This is in addition to transportation impact fees collected on each house. Examples are improvements on Wire Road and Dean Dairy, improvements on Simon Road and Eland Boulevard, and other improvements that we've done.
Okay, thank you. I have a couple of questions from the audience that are similar, so I'm going to make sure this is on multiple people's minds. I want to ask this one. So there seems to be a growing homeless population in Zephyrhills. How can we help them find a place to live, or in what ways can we work with local organizations to address this problem? And I'll start with you, Mr. Proctor, on this one.
Well, the city is currently working on that. We did a census to find out how many homeless we have. I don't think we have the exact numbers, but I know our chief of police, we have a policy where if a homeless person wants to get home, we will supply them with a bus ticket or transportation to get home. I mean, it's a tough question. The city council has dealt with this in the past. The problem is nobody wants to put them in their backyard. So when the issue comes up, I mean, they all want to help, but where do we put this? How do we deal with it? It's a tough situation, and I believe the whole country is facing, and every other municipality as well. I think ours isn't as bad as some, but I think it is pretty significant.
Okay. Mrs. Church, same question. What ways or ideas do you have to deal with the homeless population in Zephyrhills?
That's a very, very good question. So, because I didn't have an answer for it, and because it's such a complicated situation, the first thing that I did was I met with the chief of police as more as a concerned citizen, just to find out what are we currently doing about it? How do these people end up in those situations? As I've come to understand, and I'm learning more as we go, but there are two of the big reasons why people end up in this scenario is there's either a mental health crisis or there is substance abuse or alcoholism involved. Those are primarily the two reasons that you end up there. The city of Zephyrhills, the police department, has put together basically a outreach person, which is Officer Healy. And Officer Healy, who's in the front here, would you like, yeah, there he is. Officer Healy is Zephyrhills PD's liaison to meet some of these homeless people, find out what not my problem. I think that is a component, by the way. I think that's important to recognize. But understanding the substance abuse and the mental health side of it is more important. So, for example, if you trespass these people or you give them a citation, it's not helping them get off the street. You know, part of it is trying to find a way of saying, listen, what do you need? How do we get that to you? How do we find some way of making sure that you have the hand up that you need without getting the hand out? I think that's important, that we build on what Officer Cookie is doing, because I think that this is the important type of community policing that's necessary to be able to handle this problem.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Rodriguez, do you have any ideas on how to deal with the homeless population?
Like Charlie and Sam indicated, it's a very complicated situation. I work with the churches as far as providing food on a weekly basis, whether it be Zephyrhills or Dade City. Now, to see somebody walk in, hand out, I mean, nobody wants to be in that situation. I like the idea that the police department is making an effort and trying to do something. Is it going to get worse? I think so. As we grow, problems are going to come in. And the police department's having a really difficult time trying to hire people. We're going to have the people like that. I had an opportunity to ride with a police officer last week or week before, and actually saw them stop on Piedmont at entrance that takes you to Chick-fil-A and the other one you go with Publix. And it was a real sad situation. A woman was being written up, 2 men with them, and they had 2 dogs. What do you do with a situation like that? So the officer just wrote up the lady name, where you living, where you live. Got no place to live. We got a big problem. Very challenging, but I think the church can play a big part in trying to do something about it. Certainly working with the police department and seeing what we can do. Use all the social services that we have available. See if we can help these people. Nobody wants to be done now.
Okay, thank you. Okay, with all of this development, there has been some discussion with possible issues with our water supply. And Saxton Evans with Citrus Capital Advisors came to the city council meeting last night to discuss a water alternative for our city. What other plans are being considered, or what ideas do you have to resolve a possible water issue that's facing our city because of the growth? I'm going to start with Mr. Funes this time.
One of the biggest reasons I guess I got involved in running for office was what's taking place, or has taken place, is staring us in the face right now. Is what we have in Zephyrhills. 5 huge buildings. I don't know how many of you looked into that situation, but that's going to be a future water problem. Amount of people would end up going there. Now, we've got 252 units that's going in. A 1-bedroom bed is $1,800 a month. A 2-bedroom bed is $2,200 a month. Now, you've heard the word affordable living. I don't know whether or not this city can handle $1,800 a month, $2,200 a month. On top of that, folks, I don't know if you've been by the post office lately. There's 144 townhouses that's going to go in there. 144. We got Berkeley being developed just east of the back of this townhome is the police department. California, you got Woodland, you got the high school. Now, the city council, folks, if they did due diligence, I was concerned about traffic, which is number one. This would have happened. folks with it, five buildings right now.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Funes. Mr. Turgeon, your thoughts on possible water issues in our future?
So what we have right now is we have 7 wells. That's where the city of Zephyrhills gets their water. 4 of which are in the Hillsborough River Basin, 3 of which are in the Withlacoochee Basin. Swiftmud, I was fortunate to be able to meet them as concerned citizens, of course, in understanding exactly how much water we have and how much water we can obtain. So right now, Swiftmud is not allowing any additional water to come out of 4 wells that are in the Hillsborough River Basin, which means we only have one option in order to pump our own water, and that's out of the Withlacoochee Basin. That being said, Mr. Evans, who was the first time I met him, I spoke to him after the city council meeting yesterday to find out a little bit more about it. He did send me the report that they had about the number of gallons that they were able to pump. It's an older report, it will need to be vetted. But that is one of the possible shining lights that may solve part of our problem here. That being said, if that falls apart, there are other options. Other options are to buy it from surrounding areas, whether it be Tampa, or we buy it from Pasco County, or we buy it from Dade City. All these have complications associated with that. So for example, if we were to buy it from Tampa, they treat your water differently than we do, which means that we would have a treatment process somewhere in between those 2 water companies. There's a bidirectional valve that's between the city of Zephyrhills and the city of Dade City. The problem is Dade City doesn't have any excess capacity either. So we are between a rock and a hard place. What would I do? The first thing I would do, one of the first things I would do is look at where are the other wells that are no longer in use, that have gone, unfortunately, by the wayside. And as the citrus has died, a lot of these old citrus groves have a lot of wells on them. Well, those wells now sit unused, but that may be a potential source of water into the future. There are also property owners that in the Withlacoochee Basin that we can approach to try to acquire those water rights. So that would be the first thing I would suggest.
Thank you. And Mr. Proctor, your thoughts on the water concerns?
Well, we have been working on that diligently. The city is diligently working with our water consultants, Swiftmud, in increasing the use of our water permits to provide water that we need for the future development. We should soon be hearing back from the Swiftmud on our water credits. We should hear within the end of April to extend our water credits for hopefully another 25 years, that's what they're saying. In February of 2023, the staff started working with our consultants to increase the water use permits with the South Florida Water Management District. The city continues to utilize the grants and state appropriations to improve and extend our water systems, to utilize the grants to help keep the cost of water down. First of all, let me make one thing clear. We are not going to run out of water. What the council is trying to do is not have to raise the water rates. We want to continue to give you reasonable price of water. And that's the main goal. And we are making progress. Like I said, we should know by the end of April about getting our extension. Thanks.
Thank you. Okay, next question. This is one from, I had my students do some research on previous elections in the city and the number of registered voters. And so, as you know, with the growth comes more registered voters. In the year 2000, so this is 20 years ago, 20% of the registered voters showed up to the municipal elections that year. And then, 4 years later, it went to half, or excuse me, 14 years later in 2014. And then last year's turnout, despite the number of registered voters being more than double, a abysmal 7% showed up in the municipal elections last year. So the question is, why don't we have more residents not only attend city council meetings, but also participate in the do to improve that public participation? And so, Mr. Proctor, I'll start with you.
You know, it's true. I don't understand it. I don't know why so few people come out and vote in your city elections. We affect your life more than the federal government in most cases. We affect you with your property taxes. We affect you with your water, your sewer, your garbage. I mean, I don't know why people don't want to come. You would think they would. We're all the time, we get a lot of people that come and want to complain about everything that the city's doing, but yet they don't come out and vote. They do not show up at the meetings. And what do? Do we round them all up and make them come vote? I mean, it's a pretty tough situation. I agree, it's pretty bad. When I first got elected, which was in 2011, I ran against Mr. Funes, who was the incumbent at the time. And I don't remember the exact numbers, but I think we had somewhere around 400 to 500 people come out and vote. And that's pitiful. And the most that we've ever had that I can recall is I think we've had around, at the most, 1,800 people come out and vote in our city elections. How do we make people come out and vote? That's a great question. Because it's not, I think that's what irritates me the most is the fact that so many people want to complain that we're not doing anything, but yet they don't come to the meetings, they don't go vote. So what is the city supposed to do? I mean, thank you.
Mrs. Turgeon, do you have any thoughts on what could be done to improve public participation?
I'm sure you want to ask me how to fix homelessness again? Sorry, I don't mean to make light of it. It is pretty sad so many people turn out. But I think that people would turn out if they felt that they had more, if they felt more engaged. Like they had a piece of the pie. Like they had a big piece of the cake. You know what I mean? I know as a property taxpayer, I want to know what's going on. You know, when I look at investment properties and I see the tax rate look, I want to know what's going on. When I see the taxes go up 17% a year, not because, you know, the city council has raised that, not because of that, but because our property values are rising. What services am I getting in return for that? So, how do we get an apathetic electorate to turn out? I think what we need to do is have better engagement. I'll give the city a lot of credit. They have a very good PIO officer. I find that they put out a lot of good public information. The question is, how do you get that information in front of people and get them to engage in the issues that actually affect their lives? Councilman Proctor is absolutely right. You know, the city council or the city level has the most effect on your day-to-day life. Certainly more than the federal government aside from the federal income tax. I have found that as I door knock through these neighborhoods, that people are thrilled that I show up and are willing to listen. I think that people are largely, they feel disconnected from their local government, and I think we need to find a way of no longer avoiding that. Facebook happens to be one of the best mechanisms that we can reach a lot of people very quickly with a lot of information. And instead of avoiding it, we should embrace it because it has been a very great tool for disseminating a lot of good information that people were simply unaware of.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Funes.
You know, after I retired from law enforcement at the county sheriff's office, I had the opportunity to teach at the high school. I taught grades, I started a criminal justice program there. I think you can have city council people or people involved in politics get to the schools and speak to kids about how important it is to take advantage of that vote. Now, as a veteran, it upsets me to no end when someone at a ball game has their hat on the national anthem. In school, if a student attempted to do that and I was teaching, I would politely ask them to leave. Now, the toughest thing is to get people to come out and participate. Now, 2, 3, 4 years, and all of a sudden that individual sits in the dice and becomes complacent. He's not thinking about you and me. He is maybe sick and tired of people complaining. Why is this not done? I call the police, they don't show up, or they call, they're late. The dispatchers this or that. I try to talk to somebody at the city. Why the water rates keep going up? Why are you doing all this permits for all these, complexes?
Okay, thank you. All right, Mr. Turchin, if elected, how would you support and strengthen the economic development efforts in the city, specifically with non-service-based, higher-paying jobs?
It's a great question. Economic development, I spent several years on the Economic Development Committee at the Zephyrhills Chamber of Commerce, and what we found was that when you look at the city of Zephyrhills on a map, we have some very strategic linkages. In other words, we've got great roads down, great connections, I'm not gonna say great roads, but great connections to Tampa, Lakeland, Plant City, we have Orlando. I mean, strategically, when you look at our placement, we're a very desirable location to actually do business. We have a great industrial corridor that is just begging to be developed. And there are a lot of companies that are out of state that are looking to relocate. One of the biggest issues that we have found is that we have a workforce development problem. And this is something that Mayor Monson has been looking at for years. Our biggest challenge is we don't have enough people to feed these companies good, high-quality workers. If people want good jobs, I take that back. People want careers, jobs that are actually going to pay for their long-term ability to stay afloat. They need to have skills. Those skills they must acquire. Now we can try to increase the skills, and we can try and bring in some education, and I'll give ours propane and gas. They credit. They just opened up a trade school to deal with the HVAC. I think that's a fantastic idea. We need more of that. We need more apprenticeship, because the people that are currently in those professions are aging out. They're retired, and they're not coming back. And there's nobody from my generation or the generations that come after us that are fulfilling those roles. We need to facilitate that. So if we're talking about economic development, we need to have a workforce, and we need to have the infrastructure to support those businesses in order to make that a viable solution.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Funes, same question. If elected, how would you support and strengthen the economic development efforts in the city, specifically with higher paying non-service-based jobs?
I don't think something like this would happen overnight. It takes time. Collectively working together, the small businesses find out exactly what they need. We've got a big chamber of commerce, a number of members that can play a big part in providing information like that. We've got some big things coming into this city. Are we ready for it? That's the other thing. We've got to prepare ourselves to be able to cope, provide the talent perhaps. But this is a small city. We've got to be realistic about it. And we've got a number of people 55 and older, and they're retired. How do we identify with them? Can they play a part in providing talent, expertise? I think we tried to do this a while back. I even had the 8th graders at the Stewart Middle School teach people, the elderly, how to use a computer. And that was fairly successful, but we need more of that. And certainly the schools have to play a big part. Now, I don't know about you guys, but we had shop, right? Now, they don't even talk about the shop. Something that Bar is trying to do, I think is phenomenal. I think we should do it in more different industry-wise and collectively trying to do that. They're trying to do that on the west side. Why can't we have a school like that on the east side? I think more effort should be done working with the school system, saying, hey, how can we get it done? And play a big part in it as a city. Or with the other cities like Dade City also.
I agree.
And economically, I think we can do well. But we've got a challenge. We've got some old people that reside. There's nothing wrong with old people. But that's really just can't grab young people, all of a sudden provide, the town with a good job.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Proctor. Same question.
What are we doing about economic development? Well, let me tell you what the city's been doing about economic development. We work with the Pasco Economic Development Council and the Chamber. We work with the PEDC to help land large new businesses. For instance, I can think of many, but one that we just recently brought in, and we had Miami and big cities in Texas trying to take this away, but we brought Baduco Foods. It'll be located in the southwest corner of Chancey Road and 6th Avenue. They'll make $200 million investments in that property. The building will be 425,000 square foot facility, and they'll create at least 600 new high-paying jobs with benefits. That's just one. Several years ago, we approved that boat manufacturing company out on 54 East. I mean, there's many others that we have worked with to bring business into the city, and that's just a couple.
Okay. This is a question from my students. With the recent changes with regard to busing and shortages of bus drivers, the kids are no longer, I think it's 2 miles, if they live within 2 miles of the school, they're forced to walk to school in the morning. A lot of students are concerned that it's a safety issue because there are many places in the city of Zephyrhills that do not have sidewalks. So, Mr. Funes, what are your thoughts on what can we do to address that problem and make sure that we're going to keep our children safe?
Well, I tell you what, if you drive on 12th Street and you go north of 12th Street from County Road 54, I've sat in my car and watched. When the Zephyrhills High School was let out, I counted 24 young people walking on the shoulder, going around to wherever they're going to go as far as housing. And I am super surprised there hadn't been an accident, somebody hurt seriously. They may have, I don't know, I've not seen it. But I took the time to watch this take place. Very unfortunate. Bus drivers. I had to chaperone my grandson, and this woman had to be in her early 70s. I don't know if you've got to be that age to drive a bus. I mean, they're younger people doing it. But I don't know if you guys remember riding in a bus. It is not easy to be a bus driver. So they're having a really tough time. Whether or not they can put a security guard on it to curtail the problems that exist on the bus, so the bus driver can take the job. Raise the pay. I think it's the number one concern, raise the pay, and get the people that want to do it. But it's not easy. It is really tough. If you talk to a bus driver and hear some of the complaints they have, making reference to how our children act on a bus, it's tough. As law enforcement, you want to grab them by the neck and take them out and do something about it, but you can't touch a kid anymore, right?
Nope.
So it's tough. It's not an easy question.
Mrs. Proctor, your thoughts on
Well, quite honestly,
more sidewalks?
Last year in the budget, we put over $1 million for sidewalks that would lead, we would improve the pedestrian and bicycles. The city has invested over $1 million in sidewalks last year, and this year we have also budgeted another $1 million for the 2024 fiscal year. The city is not just sitting around not doing anything about sidewalks and the protection of our children. If you look, how many sidewalks have you seen go in just recently? We're putting sidewalks in everywhere.
Yeah, quite a few.
So, I mean, to say that the city's not doing something about it, I believe we are, and I will continue to do so. Thanks.
Mrs. Turkey?
The bus driver situation situation, as far as I understand, is largely pay-based. Yes, I understand that. I think if we were to make some other, and that's not something that I understand that we are in control of. The things that we in the city would be under control of would be maybe to foster, taking a look at what specific areas are the most dangerous, and maybe start applying sidewalks based on priority basis within the city limits around the schools. The second thing that I would encourage parents to do is to, there's always the kids that get driven to school by the parents. Now, maybe you try to foster some kind of cooperation so that the parents can drive 2 or 3 or 4 kids with them. Back in my day, it was a carpooling thing. That's what they used to do.
Yep.
Eventually, it will, I think that will cure itself, but it's not an easy solution. I think it's going to take a multi-pronged approach to solve that problem. Some people might have a 6-passenger vehicle. Well, you pick up a lot of kids. Hey, everybody throws $20 in for gas. Whatever. And then the parents, that kind of thing. So I think that's probably one of the solutions. I think the other solution is to find out from the school board, hey, what are you guys paying and why are we paying that little? Is that if that's not a little wage to deal with the kind of challenges that these folks have to deal with on the school bus? I understand that it's pretty significant. What options do we have available to maybe bump that pay up to more livable wage? I think as inflation continues to ravage our country, this is going to become a bigger issue. And that's not just going to stay just at the school board, it's going to be all across all different industries. So you need to be very careful that this is just one of the symptoms that we're going to be dealing with on a long-term basis. So let's try to find multiple ways of dealing with it, even if it only curtails a little bit here and there. It's better than nothing.
Okay, thank you. Suppose the city council faced a development proposal that meets all regulations of the city, but a large number of citizens appeared before city council to stop it. How would you decide how to vote? And I'll start with you, Mr. Turgeon.
Great question. Property owners have rights, and I am not bashing property rights, and I'm not bashing the city council or city government. The challenges that we face right now are that we're facing so much, so quickly. It's been too fast. That's what we've been experiencing. Property rights, property developers have the right to build their property. Now, it is the city's discretion to be able to determine just how much density is going to be allowed in one of these things, or just how much impact we are going to allow from the land development code. Now, these are areas that you might be able to influence so that we don't have to go crazy, and we also don't have to get into a legal fight about whether somebody is able or not able to build it. Right now, we're looking at 4-story apartment buildings. Why stop at 4 stories? Why not go to 10? Probably because it's not in keeping with the infrastructure capacity our city can handle. Well, it may be time to consider re-looking at some of those things and seeing what is a more appropriate thing in the way of how much we can build in order to kind of influence that and curb that type of situation before it becomes a problem. We're assuming that somebody's going to be building and developing that the neighbors, there's actually one right now, and I can think of exactly that, where the neighbors are already complaining, hey, you're going to build all this stuff right next to our industrial facility, and we're going to get all kinds of noise complaints. And it's really hard because they've got a very good point. They were there first. Meanwhile, we're looking at the potential of having residential development right next to an industrial sector. That's a very challenging, that's a very challenging question. And I don't have a surefire answer. We're going to have to take a look at all the merits of the case, and then we're going to have to make an appropriate decision.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Potter, same question. How would you,
Go ahead.
do you want me to repeat it?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So suppose the city council faced a development proposal that meets all the regulations of the city, but a large number of citizens appeared before city council to stop it. How would you decide how to vote?
Well, any project that comes before the city council first has to go to our city planners, and they let us know if they fit the criteria to put a particular project on a piece of property. And I agree that landowners have a right right to sell their property for the highest and best use. But it doesn't mean they can just go in and put whatever they want on the property. It already has to fit into what we allow with our rules and regulations. Zephyrhills has seen an explosive growth over the past 3 years. And the questions of all municipalities in Florida are facing is how do we responsibly prepare and handle the growth? First, our city planners and developers require developers to perform traffic studies on significant projects. If the study shows that the road improvements are required, then the developer pays for the improvements, not the taxpayers. This, in addition to transportation impact fees collected, examples are including what we've done on improvements on Wire Road and Dean Dairy Road, improvements on Simons Road and Eland. And if the citizens have concerns, they should most definitely come to the council and express their feelings. But the city also is we have a city attorney. And if the property is zoned to do what the individual wants to do, if we deny that and they fit all the criteria, the city could be sued. So we have to look at that as well. So, I mean, that's how I would do it.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Funes. How would you decide on how to vote on a contested development that meets all the regulations of the city?
I would join the people. I would get on out there and scream and shout. But that's the truth. You've got to listen to the people, right? It is in fact the city to do due diligence. Okay. Like Charlie said, oversight, planning. If they did their job, that big old traffic problem on Pretty Pond is something we could probably work with. But right now, when they start taking people into that 5 buildings, folks, you know, it's kind of funny. I'm talking to Todd Van, well, man, we created a, neighborhood for the vehicles to pass out the back, meaning the east side of where those 5 buildings are at. Todd, why didn't we think ahead as far as planning? That small area takes you into Zephyrhills Commons. You gotta be kidding. And he started talking about the height of the buildings. And I just couldn't understand why an intelligent man like that would respond that way when in fact the traffic is just staring you in the eyes. Folks, we got a challenge there, really a challenge. Going to Publix is going to be really, really tough. No, unfortunately, people don't come to city council meetings. Again, we go back to trust. You vote for somebody, you believe in them, and he's going to do the right thing. The unfortunate thing is, we don't do the due diligence. We let it sometimes, more times than not.
Okay. So I'm trying to keep an eye on our time here. And so I had allowed on the agenda for an opportunity for candidates to have an opportunity to pose one question of their own to their opponent. Mr. Turgeon, you don't have an opponent in order to engage with. So I will ask Mr. Proctor, Mr. Funes, did you have time to prepare that? Do you want to pose a question to each of you, to your opponent?
Sure.
Okay. So, Mr. Proctor, I'll allow you to ask a question of Mr. Funes, and you will have 2 minutes to respond.
When I first ran for city council, Mr. Funes was the incumbent. And when I filled out the paperwork, I figured, well, I might as well go to the council meetings and find out what's going on, since I just signed up to become a city councilman. And my question would be to Mr. Funes, since you pulled papers on me to run, you haven't showed up in a single meeting, and I'm just wondering why.
Well, I was getting the information from other people and also from the newspaper. And I didn't think it was necessary for me to appear and just sit and watch you all bundle things up and pass it without explaining. I felt very uncomfortable going and watching y'all do that, knowing that that's what was taking place. Now, I have no problem responding to questions like, hey, what would you do what would you do for this, or what would you do for that? But when it comes to running the city, those 5 hands go up, folks, and make decisions for you. What you want is someone that you can trust, and by going and listening to 5 people making decisions like, it doesn't matter sometimes, or they didn't do their due diligence, that's upsetting. So that's why I stayed away.
Okay. Mrs. Funes, would you like to ask a question of your opponent?
But Charlie,
Yes, sorry.
But Charlie, I gotta ask, and you weren't the only one that voted for this, but like I had indicated earlier, those 5 buildings, along with those 144 units going in behind or next to the post office, you voted for, and you said you did your due diligence. Were you concerned about the traffic that was going to come as a result of those 5 buildings and those 144 units?
Yes, I did vote for that particular project, and first of all, that went to the planning department, which recommended for a conditional use for the 4-story apartments in that location. And personally, I felt at that time, this was several years ago, I'm thinking at least 3 or 4 years ago that this was approved. We were growing so fast and we had nowhere for people to live. We had no affordable housing. And those apartments, when they're done, will be affordable. And another thing, you're from that spot right there, you can walk to get your groceries, you can walk to the hospital, you can walk to get your car repaired. So my thinking that was a good spot to put it.
At this time, we will have 2 minutes of closing remarks from each candidate, and I'll start in the reverse order this time. So, Mr. Funes, would you like to make any closing remarks?
Yes, ma'am. Again, folks, I come from a lot of the city, and I'm really proud about the things that I've been involved with. You don't get recognized for clubs tearing the year 4 times for not being involved in the community. Now, I indicated I spent 23 years in law enforcement. I spent 4 years at the high school teaching criminal justice. I've been a realtor for almost 20 years. So when I want to start talking about infrastructure, being a realtor, folks, for almost 20 years, I've been involved in a number of different buying and selling. And you just don't pick that up, walking in and saying, hey, listen, this is how infrastructure works. You gotta know something about real estate. So I bring that to you as far as understanding what infrastructure is, what building is, the concern about diligence when you're gonna be thinking about all the units. The concern we got now, they call it open permits. And Sam kind of touched on it. We really got a challenge, folks. There's a spot, again, I hate to keep on bringing up Pretty Pond, but wow, that's going to be tragic. We looking for options right now where that blinking light is at Wire Road and Pretty Pond. They're thinking about putting a roundabout. I don't know about you, a roundabout on that 2-lane highway?
Yeah.
And then there's 15 acres on
I said, I have been on the council for 12 years, and I'm quite proud of a lot of the stuff that the council has done. I don't do anything on my own. We work as a team, we don't always agree. Many times I've made a motion to do something and I heard birds chirping, I had no backup. But you know what, that's part of it. At the end of the day, when we walk out of that building, we're still friends. And we try, and we all have the best interests of the city. And I believe anyone that's elected should have the best interest of the city at hand. I'm just going to tell you a few of the things that I'm most proud of that the city's done. Recently, we did raises for the ZPD to bring the officers up to a equal to other agencies in the area. It's not where it should be. We need to do more. And that just doesn't go for our police department. I've always fought for every one of our employees to make sure that they are well paid, they have good benefits. As an employee myself, it's important. Most of my employees stay with me for decades. My last employee retired 2 years ago. He was with me for 15 years. My current employer, my current employee, my manager, he's been with me for 12 years. I do support economic development. We've worked to bring millions and millions of dollars to the city in grants. These grants, when we build different projects, when we use the grant money can only be used for what it was appropriated for. We can't use, like if we get a grant to improve the parks, I can't use that money to give raises. And another thing that I am quite proud of that the city did, when the county was going to build 56, bumping into 301, or 301, they at first were going to do 4 lanes. Well, then they came out and said, oh, well, can I finish?
Wrap it up super quick.
In other words, 56 would be 2 lanes if the city had to back the loan to make it 4 lanes. So you know what a bad situation it is now. Can you imagine how it would be if the city hadn't gone to bat? And that's not in the city limits.
Okay. Thank you. Mr. Turgeon, closing remarks.
I know that we face some issues in the city. The question is how do we deal with that? You know, I'm not interested in bashing anybody, I'm not bashing the city council, I'm not bashing the city staff. These people have experienced a huge amount of growth and they've done a valiant effort in trying to deal with these things. But we still need another set of hands in there to push things forward and go in the right direction. We need a balanced approach to our development. We need a clear vision of where this city is headed. We need infrastructure. We need to catch up with our rooftops. We need to avoid turning problems into a crisis. We need to make sure our police force has the resources that they're going to need because they know what's coming. And I've got to say thank you to the police. The Fraternal Order of Police endorsed me in my candidacy. They took a huge political risk in endorsing an outsider and a newcomer. But that's simply because we're recognizing what the problems are and how to fix some of these things. I realize that I am a newcomer based on local standards. I get it. But Zephyrhills is my home. My family is here. My friends are here. My businesses are here. I've invested in this community, and this community has invested in me. I want to see Zephyrhills be the best that it can be. Zephyrhills is more than just a pin on the map. It is my home. I am not going anywhere, and I want to see it be the best that it could possibly be. I want to thank everybody that came out tonight, because without you, we'd be just talking up here to nobody.
Exactly.
I see problems in my backyard, I want to solve them. I want to be part of the solution, not just pointing out problems. I am not looking to be just a guy that wants to beat on the bee's nest here to get everybody's thumb. It's not like that. I see problems, I've got a skill set that I believe would benefit the city. I'm willing to step up and do my part. I hope that I have at least earned your trust to be your next council person. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So that concludes our candidate forum, the question part of tonight. I do want to thank all of you for taking time out of your life to come out here and be part of the process. That's what we all are supposed to do as good citizens. in this country. So thank you for coming out. Thank you to the candidates for taking time out of your schedule. And we're going to allow for about 15, 20 minutes or so of meet and greet time again for the candidates to come down, and you can ask any of them any questions. I believe they have some of their political campaign materials back on the table if you'd like to take any of those. So the question part is done. We're going to turn the mics off, and you guys can mingle. Okay? Thanks again for coming.
All right, folks. So hopefully you can hear me. There were some good questions, and there was a lot of good answers. Now, I myself, I love runabouts. I think runabouts are actually pretty cool. That way you don't have to wait forever to get through something. And you're welcome, Cindy. But I think candidates took it well. They answered a lot of questions that were asked of them. We'll just have to wait to see what goes on when it comes time to vote. Now, unfortunately, I can't vote because I live outside the city limits, which kind of sucks. But all three candidates are great. I'm glad that they were here. I appreciate them coming. I appreciate everybody for watching, and this will be on my personal page, and then I'll share it later. So if you want to, please share it. You can watch it over and over again. Thank you once again. And sorry about the sound because it's really echoey in here, and it looks kind of washed out up front because of the lighting. That's out of my control. I have no control over that. But all right, folks, have a good evening and stay safe. That was good. So what do you think? It was good?
Running against me for anything. And Sam has got good answers for what he's doing. He doesn't just kind of like an old man that doesn't have to fight. Not like me. Charlie didn't do very bad. He was reading off the paper all the time. He didn't get what he was talking about. But Sam, I'll tell you what, he's been studying.
Unfortunately, I can't vote.
Now, Doug is in the process pretty strong too. It's interesting to see if we make a comparison. But because she would have been better than the other two as well.
Yeah.
He had his material together. So, Sam is certainly not. Sam doesn't have the 50 good kid out there. The problem is, people need to hear almost everybody is saying there are just a few that maybe might change their mind, but
That's why I live streamed it, and so every time they spoke, I put their name up, so at least they can watch that. And
if people will want, it's all.
all right, let me get this thing backed up.